It is Wednesday, November 5th, 4 p.m. in Washington, D.C. I'm Ben Swan. You're watching RT America. Thousands of people from across the globe are marching today, November 5th, as part of Guy Fawkes Day. These protests demand justice and democracy and are happening in, among other locations, London, Brussels, the Philippines, and even here in Washington, D.C. RT's Manila Chan reports.
The annual Million Mask March, organized by hacktivist group Anonymous, is going on in cities across the world today. In New York, in D.C., in Los Angeles, London, Hong Kong, Delhi. They've got their slogan, Remember, Remember, the 5th of November. That's homage to Guy Fawkes, the British revolutionary who, along with 12 co-conspirators, planned to assassinate King James I of England by blowing up Parliament with 36 barrels of gunpowder. Now, the people with Anonymous are actually seeking to reform the balance of power globally and figuratively, of course. Now, they're figuratively trying to blow up the status quo. Here in Washington, the group began gathering at about 9 a.m. over at the Washington Monument with a march that ended here at the White House. Now, the group, and I use that term very loosely, is famous for hacking institutions that they deem corrupt and exposing the hidden actions of those companies. Now, the group is what they describe more as an internet gathering of willing participants. So there is no centralized command structure, and they operate based on ideas rather than directives. Now, critics of this movement, of course, say that they're not going to make any headway because there isn't a central leader. Rather, they rally a cause. These protesters say they're about justice and fairness for the masses.
So we're here again, round two, back again, another global movement, which I just think that in itself is just, that speaks in volumes, and that shows that people can get together. Even if it is a trending thing or a social media thing or whatever it is, it's happening.
The causes that we're here for basically is the corruption of the government and the cop killings. I mean, the cop killings are out of control in this country. The military-industrialized complex, where they militarize the police forces, and it's shoot, then ask. It's outrageous. We're here to support the First Amendment, but that's what everybody's here. We're all here. We're all human rights activists in the purest form.
The thing that's frustrating is because right now we kind of look like we're crazy because we're just shouting, but it's like shouting because nobody knows what to do anymore.
Now, just some topics that the Anonymous group is seeking to remedy, as posted to their official Facebook page, things like the NDAA, Chelsea Manning, militarization of police, even tackling education reform. Now, while the casual observer might view this movement as kind of scattered, it's actually worth mentioning that just since the financial crisis and the meltdown in 2008, we saw a growing number in the presence of people donning these Guy Fawkes masks at Occupy movements across the country. And in fact, the Anonymous movement has actually really just grown ever since then. So we'll seek to see more out of them in the future. From Washington, Manila Chan, RT.
And here to talk more about the Million Mask March is Christine Ann Sands, one of the organizers of today's march. Christine, thanks for being on.
My pleasure.
Let's talk a little bit about, why did you get involved in the Anonymous movement, the Million Mask March movement?
I started following WikiLeaks a couple of years ago, and as I became more informed about the crimes of the government and the injustices globally, I learned what Anonymous, the hacktivist group, was doing. Uncovering corruption, exposing corrupt government, and that's why I became more active.
How you got involved with it. Let's talk about, one of the problems, if you want to call it a problem, with the movement associated with this particular issue is that there's no one particular issue, right? Anonymous is really about hacktivism. It's about, big government. It's about police militarization. It's about so many things at the same time. And so some people would say, when you're about so many things, you start to become about nothing. Do you think that's true or untrue?
Well, it's true. If you look at something like a arrowhead, a spearhead, when you want to spearhead something, a lot of times if you want to penetrate, you need to unite on one point. And for me, again, I run the global map.
Okay.
millionmaskmarch.com, .org, .net, .info all leads to the same place, and I run the map.
Okay.
And the Facebook page, facebook.com/millionmaskmarch. So for me, Anonymous is a truth movement, and truth has to come first. Whistleblowers. We understand that Obama has jailed whistleblowers 20 times the rate of all previous administrations combined. So we have to start with truth. because you can't make a plan without it. And that, to me, Anonymous has become a truth movement.
And more than anything else, would you say then the goal is to just expose lies, cover-ups, what government is not, expressing to us? You talked about whistleblowers, and you talked about the fact that President Obama has prosecuted whistleblowers so much more than all the other presidents combined in history. At the same time, we heard a lot of different comments in Manila's story there from different people who had different reasons to be there. So how do you get all these people, and globally even, to focus on one thing?
I'll tell you, you can't make a plan without truth. Number one priority is to free the whistleblowers, because our government, my United States government, thinks they have a right to kill in secrecy before we have a right to the truth. So the first priority is to free truth. If you go to the MillionMaskMarch.com website, you'll see Mission Assange all over. Why? To free Julian Assange.
And Chelsea Manning, you're also pushing for that as well?
Yes, of course, all the whistleblowers. But number one is free the truth.
And how about Edward Snowden? With Edward Snowden, obviously.
Something to say about that, too.
Sure, but even beyond just the whistleblowers themselves, Edward Snowden's revelations, a little over a year ago, almost a year and a half ago when they first came out, clearly helped to promote many of the ideas that I think Anonymous is about. 95%
are still hidden, and according to Cryptome, we're not going to get the 95% till 40 years from now.
So the question, though, is, has some of that excitement died down around him? It seems like a lot of what Anonymous was about was getting a lot of attention, and people were focusing on it. Has that enthusiasm died down?
No. When you look at the statistics, 64% say the United States government is out of control. 80% don't support the government. 78% say the system has failed. 1/3 advocate for armed revolt. We have 1/3 can't pay their debts. 80% adults near poverty. I mean, the statistics, generally speaking, America doesn't like our government. Now, I'll say this. Besides needing truth, the next thing you have to do is to end the Federal Reserve Corporation, because that's funding the destruction of the Constitution. But if you get the truth, free the whistleblowers, and then you end the Federal Reserve Corporation. Remember, private corporation creating counterfeit currency from an empty bank account, right? And then you end the Fed. Then, because the Federal Reserve Corporation is funding the destruction of the Constitution, then you can continue to restore
the other issues.
Yes.
So, would you say 85–90% of the people associated with Anonymous would agree with you on those points? Whistleblowers, ending the Fed, are those the two major issues still?
I would say. Yeah, I mean, of course, you can't speak for everyone, because Anonymous is a movement.
Yeah.
Right. Not
and
an
so, what's the
organization.
next step? I mean, how do you get more people involved? How do you activate more people quickly? We have about 30 seconds.
Well, how do you get more people? We are. I mean, it's growing. 481 cities. So we've increased numbers from last year.
Okay.
And we're just growing. I mean, truth is going to prevail. Truth is getting out. The corrupt are being found out. This is the information age. We're going to win. We're going to win this.
You talk about the information age, and again, the internet's so crucial in what you all are doing.
Right.
What can Anonymous do to prevent that from being overtaken?
Well, there might come a time where we're going to have to mass mobilize. We should have. Because our letters are sent to spam. Our phone calls are sent to computer systems. We need to get mass mobilization. Washington, D.C. has to see their activists unite for mass mobilization.
Right.
And I've been calling for the overthrow of the United States government for a long time, because we'll never get the truth. We'll never end the Fed. We'll never get a right to a trial without it.
All right. Christine Ann Sands of the Million Mask March. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Forgot your mask. Got to bring it next time.
I have it. It's in the back room.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.